Hi, I'm Lori Rivera, artist in Southern Indiana, and today I am going to walk you through painting this abstract floral. Check that out, it has gold in it. Isn't that pretty? And this time it's a clear vase. I usually do solid vases with stripes and stuff, but this one is a clear one. Anyway, this is a 16 by 20 canvas panel, so I used that. And then I used my paints, my regular paints that I usually use, and I have the colors listed in the description. And I'm also using acrylic markers and Posca pens and paint brushes. And finally, I'm using these color shapers, a 2-inch one and a 1-inch one. If you've seen my other videos, you know that I love these. They make great texture. And they're just really good. They help you loosen up, and they have good coverage. So these are like rubber paint brushes. They're silicone rubber paint brushes. They're like a cross between a paintbrush and a palette knife. So that's what I'm using today. And thanks for joining me. And I'll see you at the end. All right. So here I'm starting by putting vertical lines on the canvas panel. And here I am adding stencil designs. You know, some people frown on stencils. I don't see anything wrong with them. It's just a part of the creative process. And so what if you didn't create every little line, you know, unique yourself? You're still putting your own touch on things because you're picking out the colors and the placement, and I see nothing wrong with using stencils. But yeah, I started this painting out differently than I have started out my other ones. I started with some lines in the background, and those were done with acrylic markers. I thought it might be kind of interesting to get a different background going before I get started. I usually don't put any kind of background in at all. I usually just start out with either a white canvas or a canvas that's painted a solid color. So putting these stencil designs in here. I got that little sponge off of Amazon. I got like a whole box of them. They're perfect for stenciling. Now I switched to a different stencil. This looks like little tiny leaves. So this background that I'm putting in here really hardly shows up in the end piece, in the end result, but it's just a part of the process, you know, just layering. And, you know, I'm sure the layers play together in the end piece, even though you don't really see this part too much. Now I'm putting some gold in there. I love gold. These are little gold circles. And I use Nova Color paints. I think I pretty much say that in every video. I love Nova Color paints. They're awesome. You know, the viscosity, they're a little bit thinner. However, they are highly pigmented. They are very, very pigmented. And even though they're thinner than some of the, cheaper paints, they're more pigmented than them. And I like the viscosity of these paints because you can put them in, I order them in pints. There's a pint right there. That gold is in a pint. And it's nice because you can just pour them into condiment bottles. Like that orange one in the background you see on my table. And it's nice because then you can just squeeze out your colors onto your palette. And I use a glass palette. So I have a huge piece of glass on my painting table. And I just put my paint straight onto the glass. And then when I'm done painting, I let it dry. And I scrape it off with a glass scraper. Just spray it. And then about 2 minutes later, scrape it off. And then start over with the next painting. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop there with the background. I just got some stuff on the canvas just so that I'm not staring at a blank piece of canvas. So now I'm ready to work on the foreground. And so I got my colors on the table. I got white gesso for, in place of titanium white, cadmium yellow light, quinacridone magenta, phthalo blue, and burnt sienna. And now I am drawing not the canvas, but the vase. I'm drawing the vase with a chalk pastel in pink. I made it a little skinny at first, so I widened the opening of the vase a little bit. Now I'm just scribbling in where the flowers are going to go, just to get something on there, just to, kind of act as a guide for my next marks. So now I mixed phthalo blue and burnt sienna equally in equal parts, and that makes black. Isn't that a gorgeous black? I mean, that is just, you can get such a rich black by mixing phthalo blue and burnt sienna. I know I mention that in every video, but I really do believe that. It's just such a pretty black. So I'm just, painting in blocks of black into the flowers area. And the reason I start with black is because that will help create natural shadows in the end piece. Because, vases of flowers have shadows in them. They're not just flowers, they do have shadows. Oh, and I'm kind of making some wilting flowers or melting flowers, whatever you want to call them. I make them go down at the bottom of the flowers. I kind of like make them look like they're dripping. And you'll see that as I get more into it. Like I'm putting a drip right here. Okay, so yeah, you can kind of see where I'm making it look like the flowers are dripping. I really like that look. I've done that. This is the third painting I've done that in, and I really like that look. So I'm putting some dripping flowers on the right side and the left. And you can kind of see the background. The background's still showing through at this point. I haven't covered it up really yet. Here's some more dripping flowers over to the left. And this is turquoise. I mixed phthalo blue, cadmium yellow light, and white to get that turquoise color. I always mix my turquoise the same way. I pretty much use the same colors all the time. Every once in a while, I'll add a color, like one of my favorite Nova colors. I'll add the bright pink or what's that one color I like? Emerald Pearl. I love that color too. Sometimes I'll add phthalo turquoise. So, sometimes I'll mix turquoise, but I have been known to use the phthalo turquoise that you can buy from Nova Color as well. So I'm just adding little areas of turquoise into the flowers, adding turquoise flowers. And you can kind of see I'm mixing it in with the black a little bit. Now I'm adding pink. That's quinacridone magenta and white mixed together to get that pink. I'm just adding some pink flowers. Kind of mixing it in with the black a little bit to get more of a unique, interesting look. Putting some pink flowers at the bottom of the vase, the top of the vase. And my flowers, my floral paintings, they carry a deep meaning with them. They represent all the flowers never sent for mental health issues. So when you're struggling with a mental health issue, a lot of times you won't receive flowers. Whereas if you have a physical illness, getting flowers is a natural gesture of support that people offer. Well, when you're struggling with a mental health issue, a lot of people don't even know you're struggling. because there's such a stigma around mental health issues that you may not even tell anybody you're struggling. So not only in general do people not send flowers for mental health issues, but they may not even know that you're struggling. And that may be why they don't send flowers, because they don't even know that you're having a rough time. So my floral paintings represent all the flowers never sent for mental health. Working on those dripping flowers there. I really like the dripping flowers. I think I'm gonna keep doing more of those in future paintings. I love painting florals. They're so much fun. There's just so many possibilities. Now I'm using yellow. I mixed Cadmium Yellow Light with white to get that light, bright yellow. There's just so many possibilities with florals. You can do big flowers, small flowers, bright flowers, neutral colors. You can have a striped vase, a solid vase, a clear vase, a round vase, a square vase, a rectangular vase. You can have it sitting on a table. You can have it not sitting on a table. You can have the vase going off the edge at the bottom. You can have it sitting on the table all in view. There are just so many different ways you can make floral paintings. That's what's exciting about them. They're so dynamic. And as always with, I would say 85% of my paintings, I'm painting from intuition in this piece. So I don't plan anything out. I just do it, and whatever happens, happens. That's the most fun way to paint for me. I love painting that way. It's fun, it's relaxing, and it is a way that I can really leverage my creativity. So adding some more yellow. It's mixing with the other colors a little bit. It's kind of looking like one big mess right now. But that will change as I get more into the painting. This was a fun one. Well, they're all fun. They're all fun. Yeah, that orange sitting on the table. I bought that orange from Nova Color and I never use it. I don't like orange out of the tube. I like mixing my orange. So I mix my orange like 95% of the time with Quinacridone Magenta and Cadmium Yellow Light. That creates like the brightest, prettiest orange I think I've ever seen in acrylic. It's just gorgeous. And you can see I use that orange mixture in some of my other videos. I think in my landscape video, if you look at the landscape video I posted about a month ago, yeah, I think I used orange in that one, I think. So now I'm just adding more little bits of flowers. Actually, here I was trying to cover up the background in the flowers. The background was showing through in some of the places, like you can see the stripes and stuff showing through, and I didn't want that. I could have left it like that, but I really didn't want to leave it like that. I wanted it to be totally covered up in the flowers area. So now I took some acrylic glazing liquid, and oh yes, I need to tell you, don't buy acrylic glazing liquid. If you want to use acrylic glazing liquid in your paintings, buy Nova Color matte varnish and use that as an acrylic glazing liquid. So I mixed acrylic glazing liquid here with a little bit of white, and actually it looks kind of gray. So I think I used a little bit of phthalo blue, a little bit of burnt sienna, and a lot of white to get that color. And I mixed it with acrylic glazing liquid because I didn't want to cover up the lines totally. Yeah, I didn't want to totally cover up the lines because I'm going to make this a clear vase. Well, it's not exactly a clear vase. It's a tinted clear vase, I guess you would call it. I love this vase though. It's such a pretty shape. I like the flowiness of it, the roundness. It's just so pretty. I like rectangular vases. You probably noticed already, but I'm doing a voiceover for this painting. I didn't talk while I painted it. Instead, I recorded it. And then I'm going back and adding voiceover. I find that to be much easier than talking while I'm painting it. Now, if I ever do a live, of course, I'll be talking while I paint. Then I'll be talking and painting at the same time. But to make these videos for my YouTube, I find it easier just to do a voiceover after it's finished. So now I'm painting the stems. And I have a couple different colors of stems going on there. Some of them have more yellow in them, and some of them have more blue. So there's a couple different colors going on. So I'm getting some white. And now I am working on the background. So what I did here was, I believe I mixed some of my phthalo color with acrylic glazing liquid. Yes, that's phthalo. Phthalo blue. Or no, not phthalo blue. It's turquoise. My turquoise mixture. My phthalo blue, cadmium yellow light, and white. I'm mixing that with acrylic glazing liquid to put a glaze over the background. See there how you can still, I'm covering up the background, making it a little bit more muted, making the background a little more solid, but you can still see the stripes showing through even after I add the acrylic glazing liquid with the paint. So I'm kind of unifying that background. I don't know if you heard that. That's my cat. It's probably our cat, Rudy. He's wanting in here. I'm in the bedroom recording this. He probably wants in. I have the door closed. I love using acrylic glazing liquid. You can do really cool things with it. For example, if you feel like your painting doesn't have color harmony, then you can take a color that you like and add acrylic glazing liquid to it and glaze over your whole entire painting with that color, and that will unify it and bring harmony to the piece, to the colors. It's kind of doing that with the background right now. It's kind of harmonizing the background with the foreground. I think I'll do some more paintings in the future with some stripes in the background. I think the next time I do a floral painting, though, I think I'll add stripes for the wallpaper. I guess you could say that's wallpaper, that's striped, the striped parts. But I think what I'll do is I'll make different size stripes. Like some of them will be fatter, some of them will be skinnier. So now I got the background done. I'm going to do more to the background later on in the video. You'll see that too. But for now, the background is good. It's where it's going to be for a while. So yeah, this floral I did fairly fast. I think I did it in about, oh gosh, maybe an hour to an hour and a half, maybe. I cut out some parts of this video, like where I'm wiping off my color shapers with paper towels and stuff like that, because that's kind of boring. There's really nothing to see when I do that. And you'll see here that those 3 lines I just put in there to the left, you'll see in a minute, I ended up covering those up. I didn't like them. They were too thick. So I'm just kind of putting some lines in here, just little designs. Now I'm putting some, I'm using my left hand. I forgot about that. I used my left hand for those. I also used my left hand for part of the table. You'll see later on in the video because I wanted a very loose look. And I find that you can get a looser look if you use your non-dominant hand because I'm right-handed. So anytime you see me use my left hand, just so you know, that's my non-dominant hand. And now I'm covering up those lines that I created earlier, those white fat lines. I decided they were too thick. I didn't like them. So I'm covering them up with some light magenta. Magenta and white mixed together. I'm adding a little turquoise in there too. And I decided I liked that pink, so I'm adding more in different areas. I love magenta. It's one of my favorite colors. I probably say that during every video. Turquoise is my favorite color, though. My all-time favorite is turquoise. But I like magenta also. If I had to choose a color out of the tube that was my favorite, it would be a toss-up between magenta and phthalo blue. Adding more magenta there, covering up those lines. Now I switched over to a lighter color, almost white. I think that was white with a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of burnt sienna added to make it like an off-white. So like maybe that's a white flower. It looks like maybe it'd be maybe it could be a couple of white flowers. Adding some white over there too. Some white there. Just kind of spreading it around. And you want your eye to go around the canvas. So you don't want like one area where there's like a bright yellow, like in one area of your painting. If you're going to use a color, ideally, I mean, there's no rule that says you have to do this, but ideally you should put it around the canvas. So you wouldn't like want like the bottom left of your canvas to be in fluorescent pink and then not have fluorescent pink anywhere else in your piece. You know what I mean? You know, so you kind of want to spread it around. Spread the love around. So I'm dripping my flowers again. I added some white to those dripping flowers. Yeah, this was a really fun painting to create. It was fun. The background was fun. The table was fun. The vase was really awesome because I made it a clear vase, which was kind of cool because I usually don't do that. Here lately I've been painting mainly solid vases. Now I'm adding the water line. I decided to do that with phthalo blue and a little bit of yellow, so kind of like turquoise, kind of what's in the flowers. And now I'm taking a brush and I took some acrylic glazing liquid and added turquoise to it, and I'm going to add blue water. So maybe, you know, water is usually clear, but I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be really neat looking. So kind of unconventional. So I decided to make it blue. The water. And see how you can still see the stems underneath there because this is acrylic glazing liquid. I'm putting on a glaze, not a solid color. So you're going to see the background show through. This is also a fun piece because it has gold in it. I love gold. Gold is so pretty. So I'm washing out my paintbrush. There's my cat again. You can probably hear him. He wants in here. Now I'm adding some more black flowers, or I don't know if they're black flowers. I guess they're more like shadows. Black shadows. Now I am adding the line where the table meets the wall, and I purposely made it kind of wonky. I didn't want it to be a very, very, very straight line, and I'm actually making it kind of more wonky by adding another line. It makes it more interesting if it's not straight. I used to be really, really precise with my table lines where the table meets the wall. I used to just put like pin straight lines in there. And as I've, painted more, I realize I like wonky lines better than straight lines. It just makes it more fun, And now I mixed a tiny bit of burnt sienna with white. So it's an off-white that I'm using. And I'm putting stripes on the table with this color. And you'll notice too, after I add the stripes, as I get to the edge of the canvas, they're more slanted. That just gives it a more realistic look. You don't have to put a slant in your stripes if you don't want to. You can just make them go straight up and down. And if you do that, it'll look like more of a contemporary piece. Because that's not reality. The stripes would not be straight up and down on the sides. So it just makes it look more contemporary. And I have done some like that. But I decided I want this one to have the stripes, I wanted to be slanted a little bit on the edges. Now I'm going to add the middle stripes. So I think I used phthalo blue, burnt sienna, and some white to make like a blue-gray. I'm going to add blue-gray stripes. Isn't that a pretty color? I love that color. It's like a dark blue-gray. So pretty. Adding the stripes, adding all the stripes now. And later on, I'll actually put black lines in between each stripe. If I'm remembering correctly, I did that with my left hand. Now I have my Posca pen. I love Posca pens. Oh my gosh. They have really changed the way I go about painting. This is a white Posca pen. It's the thinner one, the finer line one. And I love it. I'm putting some circles in here, organic circles in the background. And you'll see I end up covering up a lot of these later on in the video. Posca pens are so fun. You can do so many cool things with them. You have to be careful though, because you can't get them in wet paint. If you get them in wet paint, it ruins them. So you have to make sure your painting is very, very dry before you start using a Posca pen. So now I'm going over the background again. I decided I didn't like the background coming through as much as it was. So I added some white to acrylic glazing liquid, and I'm putting on a white glaze. So you can kind of see there, it's lightening up the background, but yet you can still see some of the lines showing through. Some of the background is still showing through. But I'm just kind of lightening that up because I felt like the background was a little bit too dark. There's some background right there too, getting that. And I'm getting up at the top. Yes, this is acrylic glazing liquid with white. Getting all the background there. I like that. I like it the way it looks a lot better now. The lighter background looks good, I think. You know, and it still has all that interest from the lines and everything. So now I'm working on my dripping flowers some more. I'm adding a little bit of magenta to those. I really like those. It kind of reminds me of like Van Gogh. Didn't his sunflowers have like drips in them, kind of? I think they were kind of dripping, kind of like this. Maybe that's why I like doing this so much. Maybe it reminds me of him. I love him. I think, who doesn't know who he is, right? I mean, he's like probably the most widely recognized artist of all time. He and Picasso. Probably Picasso is second as the most popular of all time artists. Now I'm adding an acrylic marker. These are Artistro brand acrylic markers. They're pretty good for the price. I got 36 of them for $9.99. Some of them are kind of muted, but for the price, you can't beat them. There are several colors that I love in that pack. And so I kind of added squiggles with that acrylic marker in the background. I like my little squiggles. I like putting those in my paintings. And now I'm adding a flower with a Posca pen. This is my thicker line Posca pen. So I like taking my Posca pens and adding flowers on top of my abstract designs. It's just kind of fun. It adds a interesting element to the painting. So I'm coloring it in with my Posca pen. And as you'll see in a minute, I add some more flowers. Not quite like this, but just other kinds of flowers to the painting with my Posca pen. This painting was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. It was kind of experimental, you know, like with the background, the lines in the background, and more of those dripping flowers that I've only done several times. Those are still kind of experimental for me. So I got that white flower in there. Just kind of going over some of it with a second coat of the Posca pen. And you'll notice I kind of put that in the focal point area. So your focal point, if you divide your canvas into 3 rows and 3 columns, where the lines intersect, that's where your focal point should be. So as you can see, this big flower that I added in there, that's where the focal point would be, one of the focal points. So I have that where 2 lines would intersect. And now I'm adding I guess this could be like a cone flower, I guess you could say. I love putting cone flowers in my paintings. They're fun. Now I'm just putting a little daisy. Maybe that's a little daisy or something. There's my cat scratching at the door again. He's going to be happy to see me when I get out of here. Adding another flower up there. These are just smaller ones. And I colored this one in as well. It's really fun drawing on your paintings with Posca pens. And you know, Posca pens, they're acrylic markers, but they're awesome. They're probably the highest quality acrylic marker you can get. Although I do like those Artistro acrylic markers too. You can't beat those for the price. I mean, the price just makes them unbelievable because they are pretty good quality for the price. So I would say, you know, you're getting a bang for your buck when you buy those Artistro brand acrylic markers because they are so reasonable. And they work good. They work pretty good. The Posca pens are my favorite. Now I decided to add some lavender to this painting. And I decided to bring in one more color. So I put lavender all around the canvas. Some lavender down there at the top of the vase. And up there. It's funny, you know, because I usually use the same 5 colors out of the tube. Okay, and then I mix them in different ways for each painting. And even though I am using pretty much the same 5 colors, you would never know it by looking at my paintings because the colors are so different from painting to painting. Because I mix the colors in different ways for each painting, you know? Like my turquoise in one painting might have a little more blue in it, and the turquoise in another painting might have a little more yellow. Or like, you know, I might mix my purples a little differently or whatever. But, you know, each painting is unique. The colors are unique to that painting. I'm using my small color shaper here. I used 2 sizes of color shapers for this painting. I used a 2-inch and a 1-inch. Those color shapers are awesome. You can get good texture with those, like I said at the beginning of this video, and they have good coverage. As long as you get a lot of paint on them, they cover really well. And they're basically like a cross between a paintbrush and a palette knife, and they really help you loosen up too. I find I'm a lot looser when I use color shapers versus paintbrushes. So if you need to loosen up in your paintings, if you're wanting to loosen up, use a color shaper for sure. Now I'm putting some little dots with my Posca pen. This is my thicker Posca pen. I like little dots in my florals. I love abstract art. I mean, it's just so cool. Like, my favorite is non-objective abstract art, or you can call it non-representational abstract art. It's the abstract art where there's just shapes and colors and textures, and you don't really see anything representational in the piece, but Those are my favorite kind of abstracts, but my second favorite are abstract florals, probably. They're just so fun. And you know, when you do your abstract florals, they don't have to look like flowers. They can just look like color, areas of color that vaguely resemble flowers, basically because it's in a vase. The vase is the giveaway that they're flowers. Speaking of which, I think I might try a painting where I put flowers all over the canvas. Maybe not put them in a vase. Maybe just cover the entire canvas with my abstract colors and flowers. That might be kind of fun. I don't think I've done that before. So now I got my gold out again. And I'm adding gold to the dripping flowers over here and over here. And then I'll add gold around the canvas also where the flowers are. Just little bits here and there to kind of give that painting that shimmer. I love gold, like I said earlier. I think gold makes a painting look expensive, you know? Any more gold? So I've been painting since around 2009. I started painting after I got a step-by-step watercolor painting book from Michael's one day. I went to Michael's not really knowing what I was going there for. I just kind of went to look around, and then I walked out with that step-by-step painting book, and I took it home and did it, and that's when I fell in love with painting, right then and there. And I kind of took a break from painting for a while my daughter was younger, when she was a toddler, and then I picked it up again around 2014, and I've been painting ever since. You know, in my lifetime, I think the longest I've ever held a job, like a regular job, was like 4 years. I've held 2 jobs for about 4 years. And other than that, like, gosh, I haven't held jobs very long. Like, painting is the one job that I've had that I've stuck with the longest. I love it. It's relaxing. It helps my mental health. It brings in some money. And I just love it. And I love being my own boss. It's definitely the perfect job for me. As you can see, I put some black stripes in the table. And now I'm putting some dots in the background. Some black dots. I love my paintings to be busy. I like all that busyness. I don't want no sparse stuff going on. I want it to be busy. Even the background. And you know, I could have put dots on the table too, but I did think about doing that for a minute. But then I decided not to because I thought maybe that would be too much. But I'm putting dots up in the corner as well. Both corners. So I guess the dots are part of the background, I guess. Part of the wallpaper, I assume. Then I decided to put some little organic circles on the vase. This is my fine line Posca pen. And then I added some little wavy lines. I'm just about done. I think the last thing I have to do is sign it. Yep. Oh, nope. I'm putting a few circles in there with my fine line Posca pen. My trusty Posca pen. Paint little circles everywhere. Or not everywhere, but in different areas of the canvas. Just add more interest. This piece was a lot of fun to create. I think I've said that already. I've probably said it more than once. But it was a lot of fun. I really loved it. I'm going over those circles again, making them a little more prominent. Now I'm signing it. And sometimes I like signing on the vase instead of smack dab in the middle of the canvas in the corner, you know? Okay, so there we have it. It's all done. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. And like and comment on this video if you enjoyed it. And until next time, I'll see you soon.